Hi, I'm going to introduce the assembly of our project. The project has three parts on it. The first one is the functionality part with the band holder, snap group parts, and snap group parts. Also, the elastic cord with the finger cap for all 5 fingers in one hand. And the second part is the wrist press part will provide us the ability to let to frame part to fit in your hand. And the reason why we have another frame part at the bottom of the assembly because we want our project to be functional at both the back of the hand and the palm. So let's introduce the specific maze separately. This is our main group parts. First, the snap group parts has 4 snap grooves on it, and the band holder parts, which on the top of the frame, has 4 snap hooks on it. So we want the perfectly fitting the snap grooves for each one. So by using the coincide made to choosing the inner face of the snap grooves and the bottom face of snap hooks of the main hooks part. The snap grooves has 2 holes for the screws, and the snap hooks part has corresponding holes for the screws. So we use 2 concentric made to choosing the inner cylindrical face of the holes on the snap grooves and the snap hooks separately to make these 2 parts perfectly fitting. Make the holes for the screws concentric to each other. So we do the concentric made for both holes. We have the band holder on the top of the snap hooks parts since we will place the elastic cords inside between the gaps of each hooks. By doing that, we use the coincide made to choosing the top face of the snap hooks part and the bottom face of the band holder. And next step is the band holder and the snap hooks parts all has 4 holes of screws at the exactly same positions. So we use the concentric made to make the 2 holes concentric. So select inner cylindrical face, do the same for the one of the bottom holes. So make these 2 parts to perfectly fit into each other. The last step is placing the elastic cord to their corresponding positions. By doing that, we use 2 width mates, because the gaps between these hooks are slightly larger than the diameter of the elastic cord. Also for the gaps vertically. So we choose the opposite faces of 2 hooks in one group and table selection the elastic cord, make the elastic cord placed between the gaps of the hooks. And since we already have put the elastic cord between the gaps of the hooks, we also want the elastic cord to be placed inside the band holder and the snap hooks part. So we use another weight selection by choosing the top face of the snap hook and the inner bottom face and the band holder, and table selection the elastic cord. So it can perfectly go through the gaps, and we do the same for the rest of 4 elastic cords. For the SUMS elastic cord, it's a little bit different here, since we have measured the dimension of the hooks using one of our group members' hand, Eli's hands, and for the sum, we can simply to choose the gaps which the band holder leave for the SUMS elastic cord, choosing the opposite faces of the gaps here and tip selection the elastic cord, and do the same to let the elastic cord centered in the gaps of this displays. We choose the top face of the snap hooks and inner bottom face of the band holder. Tape selection the elastic cord. That's it for the main part. And it should be all fully defined here. The second part is the wrist press part. The wrist press part has the top wrist press and the bottom wrist press. The space between these 2 is where your wrist can put in. So you want your hands to go through inside the faces. Then we need to make these 2 parts to contact to each other. So we use the concentric mate of the bottom curved face of each other, and use the coincide mate of the corresponding two side face of each other to make them contact. Also, the same rhythm of the back face of two express, and it should be fully defined. Finally, we import the part we just talked about, and because in the prototype, the wrist press performing its function of stability by just going through under the frame of the link part. So we do two tangent mates to make the wrist press part contact with the bottom face of the frame part. In the first tangent mate, we choosing the top face of the top wrist press, selecting the bottom face of the frame part so it can be touched on each other. And also for the same reason, we choose the top face of the bottom wrist press and selecting the bottom face of the another frame, which should be on the opposite direction of your top one. It should be all fully defined if we don't have this part, but since this part is a separated single part, so it's under defined itself. And the tangent made these two contact each other is not satisfying it to become fully defined. So it leave the underdefined cause is more reasonable when we use it in its prototype. And that's it. Thank you for watching.